Hello and welcome back to Tungsten Tales. Day 4 of Q School is done and dusted. A new batch of players in today. Goodbye to the old players, the ones that have made it through, and in with the new. Plenty of familiar names, plenty from the North American circuit as well, it must be said. We'll investigate how they've got on in just a second. But plenty of shocks this afternoon, but 8 players through to stage 2 as well. Today we'll kick off with the EU section of the draw, as they kicked off around 11 PM UK time, with the Milton Keynes contingent kicking off around 2 PM UK time. So over in Niederhausen we've got 4 new players through. That's Jeffrey de Graaf, Rusty Jake Rodriguez, Zoran Lurchbacker and Gary Morrison. And I will first of all start with Gary Morrison. A player that's competed on the Pro Tour and in the World Championship before, many years ago. And good to see him throwing some good darts, it has to be said. Not too convincing in the early rounds, with 70, 78 average, 70 average in the last 32. But you have to say it's a fairly easy run through to the final, the quarterfinal as it is. But producing his best darts in that game to secure his place in stage 2, and you do like to think a player of his standard would have been in stage 2 through the order of merit no matter what. So Gary Morrison now 2 days rest until he has to go into stage 2 of Q School. As I mentioned not so long ago, lots of the North American players were in action. 2 of them in the Euro section of the draw, and the other player involved was Matt Campbell. Now he had it a little bit tougher. He lost that first round to Ole Holtkamp. Matt Campbell, probably one of the most fancied names going into Q School, of course. Had a great game in the World Championship with Scott Waits, performed admirably in getting to the quarterfinals of the World Cup of Darts around 6 months ago. But not to be on day 1 of Q School, but 2 more days to put that right. The other players that made it through, de Graaf had a fairly simple run and then defeated fellow Dutchman Danny van Tripe in the final. Meanwhile, Austrian duo Rusty Jake Rodriguez and Lurchbacker were very impressive, you have to say, throughout. Rusty Jake, if you look at his run, Mikhail Schmeder is a solid player from the Czech Republic. There are so many players from the Czech Republic that seem to be putting in some good runs over Q School this year. Also on there, Robbie Knox, a good player, and Patrick Bullen, also from Belgium, defeated on the way. The final player, we'll have a quick look at Zoran Lurchbacker's route through to the final. I mean, the obvious standout there is his first round win, 101.3 average against Ole Lukalo. 6-0 in the second round as well. An averages of 92, 91, and just needing an 84 average in the final to beat Arjen Kunterman. A player that's played on the Pro Tour before. Lurchbacker we've seen in plenty of World Championships, in the World Cup with Mencia Sulevic as well. An experienced player and one that's going to be a big danger in Q School. Now we'll jump over to Block B of UK Q School, and first of all you'll notice the players through are as follows. 2 from Scotland, Alan Suter and Ice Cold Beverage, Darren Beverley. Jose Marquez of Portugal and Kevin Burness from Northern Ireland. We'll start with Burness and Darren Beverley. Alan Suter and Darren Beverley. Alan Suter was probably the best performer throughout the day, just in terms of consistent averages. You look at those first 3 games. I sort of had a little look into it on our social media channels at Tungsten Tales on Twitter, and a 6-0 win over Callum Goffin, a 6-0 win over John West, and then a 6-0 win over Ben Adams with averages of 92, 92 and then 97 in the third round. Even better in the last 32 with a 94.9 to see off Kyle Richardson, and then I believe he came from behind in that final game against Martin Thomas to win 6-4. But Alan Suter now 2 days rest for him, and with averages like that, 5 out of 6 in the 90s, he is a pretty good bet to get a tour card this time around and compete on the PDC Pro Tour. Darren Beverley was also very impressive in his route to the finals. Plenty of 90 plus averages. You're looking those first 2 rounds, 96 and then a 95.8 to beat Lyndon Hextall. And a little bit later on, Liam Gallagher, a player that's played in an Irish match play final in the on the City West Hotel at the World Grand Prix. That was probably around 18 months ago now. And the player we defeated in the top 16, we'll have a quick look at him in a second. Alan Norris, a return to form for Alan Norris, great to see, but not able to get over the line in that last 16. So Darren Beverley through to stage 2 of Q School. Now, who else have we got here? Jose Marquez defeated Reece Colley in his final game. And you will notice actually, Jose Marquez hit a 9-darter today, the first 9-darter in Q School for 5 years. He hit that in his 6-1 win over Rhys Davis. I believe it was the second leg, 180, 180, 141, the usual route taken. Just an 83 average in that game, which is not the most impressive, but a 91.8 against Ian Lever and Jason Askew, who was in control of that game and had a considerable lead. I can't quite remember whether it was 4-1 or 5-1, but Marquez coming back to complete a 6-5 victory there, and then defeating Reece Colley, who's been a danger on the development tour over the years, in his final game. The final winner from the day in Q School, Kevin Burness. He was in deep trouble against Lloyd Pennell. Another player coming from behind late on to snatch a victory. And a player we've seen on the Pro Tour before. We've seen him in the World Championships against Paul Nicholson a couple of years ago. And a top player from Northern Ireland trying to get back on the tour. Easy enough early on against Frankie Ansell and Bradley Home. Then defeated Ian Joplin 6-4 in the last 64. That game against Martin Luthman, I had a little bit of a watch of that, and that was some pretty good darts, you have to say, being thrown in that one. 94 average for Burness and a 95 average for Martin Luthman, a former UK Open last 16 player in, I believe, 2017. So another player with a lot of pedigree, having a bit of a run in the second stage of Q School, and then defeating Lloyd Pennell in the final, the quarter final, with a 93 average, and really solid averages. And you've got to say, the standard today looked like it was quite a way above what we saw in the first block A. Some terrific averages being thrown. There were 90 plus averages that were losing games today, which on the Pro Tour is a thing. Never mind Q School itself. So terrific standard at Q School today. I did say we'd have a quick look at a couple of names that did drop out a little bit earlier in the day. And that first name is Alan Norris. Started off the day with consecutive whitewash victories, and after a really tough couple of years for Alan Norris on a personal note, absolutely great to see him throwing good darts again, and 2 6-0 whitewash wins can't do him any harm in terms of confidence. Then a 6-5 win, a last leg, deciding leg win over Diogo Portela, and then a 6-4 win over Nick Fuo, another player with lots of pedigree on the big stage. The dream eventually coming to an end at the hands of Darren Beverley in the last 16. The final player we'll focus on for today is that Danny Baggish, probably the most well-known player going into Block B of the UK Q School. You've also got Danny Lauby from the United States, who competed in this year's World Championship. But Danny Baggish going out in the first round with a 74.5 average. The last 2 years we've seen him run Nathan Aspinall close. We saw him in a superb game with Adrian Lewis, where he emerged victorious in the World Championships. Danny Baggish is a big stage player, former North American champion of course as well. He's a top player, Danny Baggish, and he's got 2 more days to set it right. He probably needs 4 points, possibly 3, to get through on the order of merit, but you've got to feel tomorrow he needs to get a couple of points on the board to take the pressure off that final day. But so many shocks today in Q School, and we've got 8 new players into stage 2 ready for Sunday. We'll have all that covered, and the next 2 days of course here on Tungsten Tales, so we'll see you tomorrow evening.